Hey guys, it's me again. This is my second video on my other story. Uh, so it's called um, An Empty Room with Possibilities. So I hope you guys like it. Um, it's pretty much about um, letting people in to your heart, pretty much. Uh, so well, I hope you guys like it. A boy fell in love once. He thought it was going to last, but sometimes things aren't meant to last. But he was okay with that, because when the door closes, it opens again. But his door has just been closing and locking him in, locking people out lately. But out of nowhere, unexpectedly, a girl opened his door and walked into his room. Timid at first, he kept his distance. She was beautiful, and he was just him. As time went by, the girl made her way further into the door, as she closed it behind her. No one had ever closed the door before. She eased her way closer to the boy. As the girl continued to walk toward him, the boy froze, nervous and scared. His mind flooded with what ifs and nonsense. Shaking his head to these crazy thoughts, he opened his mouth to speak. The girl smiled at him and spoke. "Hello, my name is Claire." The boy stood in front of her as a crooked smile came to his lips. "Hi, my name is Alex," he said to the girl. She smiled at him and looked around. "Why are you in here all by yourself, Alex?" she asked, tilting her head to the side. Alex looked around at the empty room with one door and one window. "I'm always here. The door is always closing, but it never seems to stay open. They always lock," Alex said, shrugging his shoulders, trying to put off how he felt about it. The girl raised her eyebrow as she walked further into the room, inspecting it. "When was the last time your door stayed open and unlocked?" she asked him with curiosity. "Oh, well, they never stay open. They close eventually. Sometimes they slam and lock when other times there is a soft click when I don't look. When I turn around, I'm alone in this room again," he said, once again shrugging his shoulders as if it was no big deal. Claire looked at him, not convinced at all. Alex looked at her confused. "How did you get in here anyway?" he asked, curious. She smiled and simply answered, "I picked the lock." She nudged him playfully in the arm. Alex smiled as he watched Claire investigate the boring room with one door and one window. Looking back at Alex, Claire pointed to the window. "This is a strange window," she said, looking out of it. Alex twiddled his thumbs and stood awkwardly behind her as he replied with, "Yeah, it is." Looking back with a confused look on her face, "Have you ever looked out of it before?" she asked softly. Alex just shook his head and answered, "No." Claire frowned and walked over to him, grabbing his hand and taking him to the window. "Look down there. What do you see?" Alex shrugged. "Nothing for me." He began to turn around, but Claire grabbed his arm. "If you don't take the chance to really look and think about it, you may miss out on something there that is for you," she said to him. Alex looked at Claire and closed his eyes. "I have already been out there before." Claire grabbed his hand and held it. "What happened?" she asked softly. Alex opened his eyes and looked down at Claire. Her green eyes stared back up at him with concern. "I got really hurt. I got used and beat up. I got robbed, and I made too many mistakes," he stated as he closed his eyes again. Claire stared as she wrapped her Claire sighed as she wrapped her arms around her new friend. "Is that why you're in this room by yourself?" she asked. "Yes, that is why I'm in here alone." Claire frowned again as she looked him in the eyes. Pointing out of the window, she began to speak. "It is terrifying out there. People fall in love, people get hurt every day, robbed of everything they have, and beat until they are bloody. I have been out there too," she said softly. Alex looked down at Claire. It was his turn to be confused. "Why are you here, in this old abandoned building, in my empty, boring room?" he asked her. "You seem so strong and willed to take risks. I bet people walk in your door all the time," he stated to her. Claire smiled and shook her head sadly. "No. Up until a couple days ago, I unlocked the I unlocked the lock to my room. I was tired of being cramped up and not able to experience anything. I didn't want anyone to stay in my room long. Sooner or later, I would just gradually push them out and then lock the door again." Alex looked at her surprised. Claire smiled and grabbed his hand. "We aren't too different." Alex smiled and nodded his head as they both peered out of the window. Alex and Claire both started to smile. Holding each other's hands, they took the keys to their doors and threw them as hard as they could into a nearby pond. Still smiling, they walked up to the door together as it opened slowly. Turning back, Alex noticed that his door was staying open, and so was Claire's. As they walked on the flight of stairs, they soon stopped at the door leading out of the old abandoned building. Grasping Alex's hand, Claire smiled, and they both pushed the door open. The beautiful smell of blooming flowers filled the air. The sun shone brightly in the sky. The birds sang, and people walked by waving. Walking over to the pond they had tossed their keys into, they sat on a bench by the water. Claire scooted closer to Alex as he put her arm around her. Resting his head on Claire's head, as she rested hers on his chest, he spoke. "As long as we have each other, everything will be fine." Claire smiled and simply said, "Always." So, that was Empty Room with Possibilities. Uh, yeah, it's pretty much about um, letting people in and whether or not you let them stay in. It's pretty much about trust and letting people into your heart. Uh, so that's pretty much what that's about. Um, so I hope you liked it. Uh, yeah. So I'll see you guys later. All right. Bye.